What's up, good people? Yeah, it's your girl Tasha coming to you live from the studio of StreamYard via BBSG, which is Big Booty Support Group here on Facebook. Our topic tonight, if you want to get into the guest comments or the chat room itself, here is the link. Um, Hit that link and it will guide you to where I can add you into the chat. Okay, so and there it is on the screen as well. Um, Tonight's topic is we're still on the subject of sex and religion and how it plays a part in man and woman today. How has it played a part in your everyday life? And the specific topic off of that, we started last week with that subject. It was a very awesome subject that we touched on a lot of different things. And tonight's topic is: do you believe in merit in sex before marriage or sex after marriage? Which one do you subscribe to? Because we all know what the good book says. The good book says there should be no adultery or fornication or any sexual, um, gratifying, of self until after marriage. Um, and that actually begs the question of, so what do you do in the meantime? Until you get that person, because a lot of us are not, simple as just, we can just wait that long to, have someone there. And my girl is here, Miss Spirit Lifters. She is right on time. Love this girl. Hey.
Hey, I love you more.
Yeah, so our topic tonight is sex before and or after marriage. What do you subscribe to and why? That is the subject tonight. Speaking still on the subject of sex and relation and religion and what
Mhm.
we've been taught as opposed to what we know to be sure now. So, if you got any comments on this or anything you would like to add to this subject, please see inside the chat room. The StreamYard app is there. I mean, the StreamYard link is there. Click on the link and you can join the discussion. So, yes, Miss Mari, what is your take on that subject in particular? Sex, do you believe that sex before marriage is wrong, or do you believe in waiting till after marriage to, you know, consummate and know who your partner is sexually, if they can, if it clicks sexually after marriage? Do you believe in that? Should
Um,
a person know? Um, it's so much to this particular question because whether the answer be one or the other is so many questions to it.
yeah. I believe that we are clearly sensual beings.
Right.
We are clearly sensual beings. And I mm, I think I shared with you that I came from a very religious background also.
Right.
Um and I went to Catholic school
Oh, wow.
for
Ooh.
8 years. I went to Catholic school for 8 years, and then my paternal grandmother
Hmm.
was a deaconess.
Okay.
And so for the summertime, I went to vacation Bible school and all
Mhm.
that good stuff. So definitely it was ingrained in me that sex before marriage is
Yeah,
absolutely a no.
right. Not the right
Um,
thing to do.
yeah, and but I didn't adhere to that. Um, I didn't adhere to that, and I was aware of my sensuality at a young age. I was aware of my sensuality, um, and
The allure factor.
yeah, I was aware of it, and um, I would say by the time I was 20 years old, I definitely believed that sensuality and spirituality went hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I, I don't have these conversations with my family members
Hmm.
because on both sides, on my mother's side, they're predominantly 7 days Adventist.
Ooh,
Mhm.
very strict religion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And then on my, but this is the thing, right?
Hmm.
The reality is
Hmm.
that although everybody is so religious,
Yeah.
people had children early and everybody had a child. Not everybody,
Hmm.
but some of the matriarchs of the family,
Right.
I would learn when I was like in my late 20s and 30s
Hmm.
that there was one out of the 5 kids, there was one that was conceived before marriage.
Hmm.
Or, and these are the, like, these are, and the ones who are the staunch Christians
Hmm.
are the ones that, and oh, not only were they staunch Christians,
Hmm.
they would, when we got married, when we had children, because I had a child, my first child was out of before marriage.
Right.
And when I got pregnant, the I was 25.
Hmm.
I had a good job with good insurance. I could take care of my own. I had been living on my own since I was 19.
Okay.
And it was like, it was a big deal.
Right.
I got pregnant, and people were like, look, get advice from the matriarch of the family.
Hmm.
Get married. It doesn't matter what happens, but get
Right.
married. And that's what I was told. Doesn't matter what happened, get married.
Yeah.
And but again, the matriarchs of the family,
Hmm.
they had children early
Yeah.
and they had children before, and but we they never told us that though. You
Right.
did only when you got older and you found out that
Figured
so
it
and
out.
so's last name, so and
Right.
so's uncle so and so's last name is not the same as
Hmm.
the rest of the siblings, and then you start putting two and two together. But
Right.
those were the ones that were most critical when other people in the family got
Hmm.
pregnant. I mean, come on, guys. Come
Right.
on, family.
Right.
Come on, family, with the nonsense.
Hmm.
And this is the thing. I don't care if that happened and you change your belief system
Right.
later. Okay, you were young, but sit down and have an honest conversation. Oh yeah, it happened to me too, daughter. You know what I
Right.
mean? I engaged, and
We need that. We need
yes,
to hear our elders say stuff like that instead of pretending or lying and making it seem like they adhered to those strict rules. If you didn't do that and you're trying to tell me that I should do it, don't you think you owe me a little bit more information than that?
right, exactly.
Hmm.
Tell me the truth. Tell
Yes.
me the truth. And
Telling me the truth would have saved me a whole lot of guessing and figuring out and trying to, curiosity,
or
don't just tell
feeling
me.
bad about
Yeah.
yourself.
Hmm.
You're making us feel bad about the fact that we are sensual beings, and then we don't, um, and I'm pausing because in the one of the live streams, I think I shared with you that I
Hmm.
wasn't. That's right, hypocritical.
Andrea. Yeah, Andrea
Yeah.
says hello.
Hi, honey.
Hello.
Um, um, I too, unfortunately, I shared with you that I admire
Hmm.
you because you
Hmm.
had very good conversations with your children and
Yeah.
I didn't. So um my desire for my children to have my desire for my children is to be in a solid relationship, to
Yeah.
be in a committed relationship, because certainly for us women, it's our babies. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's our babies. And
Hmm.
so my advice to my daughter in particular is if you're going to have a child, make sure that make sure that you're in a good position,
Yeah.
because there's no guarantee. Everything is going to fall on you. Number one, we are naturally the nurturers as women. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that there are men out there that are not. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that there are men are, that,
Yeah.
but the reality is the statistics prove
Mm-hmm.
that, a lot of us, the women, and even, I mean, there are situations in my family where people did it, quote unquote, the right way,
Yeah.
stayed together,
Mm-hmm.
stayed together,
And
whatnot.
everything in house.
Yeah, got married, were
Mm-hmm.
together for 10 years before they got married, and
Yeah.
there was something about when it was time to have the child that freaked the man out,
Mm-hmm.
and once the woman got pregnant, the man switched his energy, treated her
Mm-hmm.
like crap, no longer wanted the marriage.
Right.
So based on all of
It's
those things,
unfortunate. Yeah.
it's unfortunate. Based on that, my advice, to young women is, if you are going to decide to have a child, please, please do yourself a favor and try to be. Hi, darling.
Hi, hi, ladies. How are you?
Hello. Hello.
Great to hear your voice.
Good to hear you as well. Please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, but in terms of, to answer your question, sis, I believe that sensuality and spirituality go hand in hand, and
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just don't believe that God would make us, because we are naturally sensual.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that we were made to be sensual and to not engage. The thing is, we are to engage and make sure that it is healthy, that we're not harming each other, we're not abusing each other, you know. Um, that's the point. But it's not that we're not to engage. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah.
But
I
again,
agree.
be safe and non-abusive, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
So, naturally, Andrea,
Yeah, fine.
are you heard the topic, right, about
I,
sex
I,
before marriage or
oh,
after, and why you feel that it's necessary, or do you believe that the scriptures, the word of the prophets, where they talk about that, sex before marriage is wrong?
um, you mean my own personal belief?
Yes, your own personal belief.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't judge anybody. I certainly did not wait until my wedding night. I didn't
Right.
marry the first person I was involved with, but nonetheless, we didn't wait until after marriage.
Right.
Um, did I feel a certain way about that? I suppose I did.
Okay.
Um, being raised, in amongst people who were involved in the church, and
Religious. Yeah.
yeah, and so you have a feeling about it. You
Right.
know, I think my only fear was, or my only trepidation was, I did not want to have children out of wedlock.
Right.
Only because, there was, a lot of stereotypes about
Hmm.
that in the 90s, about how, we were having children out of wedlock left, right, and center. This was supposedly the narrative that we
Hmm.
were being told by, society, and so on and so forth. And I just didn't I felt like that was a stereotype that I could avoid. That was easily
Yeah.
avoidable. Do you know?
Yeah.
Or not easily avoidable,
Hmm.
because you can always try to be as safe as possible and still, end up having a child. I mean, I used to say
Hmm.
birth control for the longest time and still became pregnant.
Oh wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And so none of it is 100%. Only thing that's 100% is abstinence.
Yeah.
And I remained abstinent until I felt like I loved the person and wanted
Hmm.
to engage. And I
Right.
remember sitting down with my parents and
Hmm.
having a conversation about it.
Okay.
Um, as a matter of fact, I think it was my dad who actually wound up taking me to go and get birth control.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad. My mom is a nurse, like I
Okay.
am, but my
Okay.
mom is very different. Like, she always had a little bit of a I don't know if it's, I don't know. I always thought to myself that the dynamics between mothers and daughters
Mm-hmm.
of our generation and our
Mm-hmm.
parents' generation was
Yeah,
was odd. Do you know
it
what I'm
is.
saying?
It's
Yeah,
really
like
odd.
we didn't
Yeah.
really allow ourselves to discuss things like. I remember the first time my mother knew that I kissed a boy,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh, you're going to become pregnant." I was 12, right? You're going to
Okay.
become pregnant, and I really believed, "Oh my God, I'm going to become pregnant
Mm-hmm.
by kissing a boy."
Right.
I was terrified. And my dad sat me down and he said, "Well, one, it's normal to want to kiss a boy.
Right.
This is not the my mother may have given me the ABCs of sex,
Mm.
but
Okay.
didn't discuss, the fact that that's a normal thing to have these
Yes.
thoughts or
Mhm.
interests or what have you, any of that. None of that was discussed.
Right.
It's probably now that my mother and I are far more open.
Mm-hmm.
After 40, my mother and I
Okay.
became more open about
Okay.
sex and so on and so forth. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of just, judgment, there was a lot of judgment, I think,
Mm-hmm.
from my mother when it came to those types of things.
Okay.
And I didn't have any patience for it. Do you know what I'm saying? My
Yeah.
dad was like, listen, you're an adult. You're in
Mm-hmm.
college. You're doing, you're a good person.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes you feel like it makes you a bad person because you want to have sex with your boyfriend.
Right.
I'll take you to, you want to go to the doctor and get birth control? I'll take you.
Right.
That should have been, I felt, something my mom was willing to do, but
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't. My dad, on the other hand, was. My
Go
dad was
dad.
very
Go
like,
dad.
because my dad was
Mm-hmm.
like, what am I going to say to you? You think I wasn't having sex when I was 18, 19 years old?
Right.
Mhm.
you know?
Dad is keeping it real. And your
Go
mom, it
dad.
seems like she's like a lot of our moms. I think
Yes,
they were afraid to give us too much information that we might use it to
yes,
get pregnant.
Yeah.
yes. It was almost like if we talk against it, it's going to keep them from doing it. I'm sure your mother, mom, like I would
And that
probably,
does the
well, my
total
mother didn't
opposite.
have her mom, but what I'm saying is, um, I'm sure whatever matriarch was probably saying some of the same stuff she said to me. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
prevent her from doing
No?
it when she got good and ready.
Right.
When she met my dad, who was all suave and talked out of those drawers.
Daddy got the trunk.
Hello.
Oh,
You got some drawers.
right. Like, Mom,
So, I
wait a
mean,
minute. You know Daddy got them drawers.
thank you. So stop playing, And my dad was very honest about all of that. My mother, on the other hand, was not. But like I
Mhm.
said, after 40, she started having conversation with me about, passion and desires and things like that. And
Okay.
I mean, the first time she started talking like that, I was floored
Hmm.
because, my mother is very, very, very religious.
Yeah.
And so therefore it was very surprising to hear her say this. And she would say stuff like, but back then I was young. And I'd say, Mom, there should not be any disclaimers. You are entitled then, you are entitled now to have
Hmm.
sexual desires.
Right.
It's normal.
Wow. Hmm.
It's normal and it's cool.
Hmm.
Don't give me any disclaimers if you're having this conversation with me.
Right.
Because I'm
Interesting.
not going to look at you any other way. I get it.
Right.
Which is why you probably feel comfortable saying it to me now because
Hmm.
I have life experience now.
Hmm. And
Um,
in some ways, looking back at it, she, like I said, a lot of times they're afraid that we are going to be like them.
mm,
Whatever
yeah,
a mother can't talk about in her child, or she doesn't like about her child, or the
mm.
things she's afraid of in her child, is
Okay,
usually the
I'm gonna
things she's
pass the
afraid of
collection
in
plate because
herself.
you're preaching right now. I'm
Yeah.
getting ready to get the collection plate. You are
Even with
preaching.
my own daughter, the things that I don't like about my daughter are
Yeah,
the things that I see about me.
that you don't particularly
Hmm.
either you haven't embraced about yourself,
Right.
you're uncomfortable with
That I'm
about
afraid
yourself,
of in
or you're
me.
afraid. There you
Yeah.
are.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
We do that with our daughters unknowingly and out of fear that they're going to make mistakes that's going to cost them, something. And you don't want your child to go through that. Of course you don't. So not talking about it to them was okay. If I don't talk about it, she won't know. She won't ask any more questions about it. It'll go away. No, we
Mm.
talk to our friends. We got, of course, boys are gonna definitely talk to us about the subject because they're, it's definitely about them, you
Right.
know. And a lot of times, oh my God, let me tell you what my mom used to do. She used
Mm.
to get by her being a minister, right? When she would go and preach, she would get up because me and my sisters used to sing, along with her. We had a little group, gospel group, and she would get up, and as soon as she would start preaching, the first thing she would say, all my girls are virgins. And I
Mm.
thank God that all my girls are virgins. And we're sitting in the audience like, do you know that she marked us and thought she was doing something by telling everybody that we were virgins? All that did was made the boys come out the woodwork like, oh, I'm about to be
Oh,
the first one.
yeah. Wow.
And she did that everywhere we went, and it made it harder and harder to navigate through all of these, testosterones in the audience, because little boys, they hear that word virgin, that ain't scaring them.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. My mom, what it was very important for my mom for people to think that my mother was a virgin. I have no idea if she was or wasn't, but she made it
Mm-hmm.
a part of her conversation, not about us, but about
Mm-hmm.
herself. Because, and I
Okay.
guess she must have. Um, I'm not really clear. She wasn't very forthright with her
Okay.
history.
Mm-hmm.
But um, in her conversations with myself and with others, she
Mm-hmm.
always said, "Well, I was a virgin." She started off her conversations with, "I was a virgin when I got married," like, or she would say, "Your dad didn't bring me from the streets. He took me out of my mother's house as a virgin." So I think, I'm from my family's from Panama. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's a thing for Panamanians of that generation.
For
I'm
Caribbean
not saying that
parents,
it's not a thing
period.
for other people, huh?
For Caribbean parents, period.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
My
And
mom's Haitian, so there you go.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was a very, very big deal. And it was very awkward because for me, because, you know, my 20s and 30s, and I don't want to hear, I don't care, you know what I mean? But that was a big thing. That was a judgment, um, that defined her.
Mm.
That was an aspect of what she felt defines her.
Right.
Um, and the funny thing is, my mom, God bless her soul, she transitioned in 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, I, I believe my mother was very sensual in nature. Now, being grown, you don't, when you're growing up, you really don't pay attention to your parents in terms of those things. But
Yeah.
as I'm thinking about it now,
Mm-hmm.
and as a full grown woman, recognizing, looking at my own life and patterns of behavior, looking at my mom and the boyfriends she had, et cetera, and just looking at who she was as a woman. Now I can look at her as a woman. That woman was a very sensual woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would think too, to be honest, that
Mm-hmm.
perhaps she wasn't even a virgin. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
it was so important for her to say that perhaps she wasn't. And,
Mhm.
you know, um
Yeah. Sometimes just the appearance of it. If you think your parents are perfect all your life, all you
mm-mm,
see is
never,
perfection.
never.
You don't question it. Your parents are perfect. They were married, this, that, whatever, blah, 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 but, I know my sister and I used to, we actually recently started picking apart our past and looking back on some stuff that we're like, wait a minute. Do you remember when we went over to this person's house and we was outside? Why was we outside?
Hmm.
Yep.
And
Yep.
don't come back in
And it
that house,
makes right,
huh?
and it makes you think like, wait a minute, they were not perfect.
Hmm.
Mhm. That's how I felt when I discovered that's how I felt when I discovered that, you know, the elders in my family had children, in their teens. Some of the elders had children in their teens, or so. And I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
Mm-hmm.
Just stating
Um,
a fact.
yeah,
Right.
just stating a fact. And this is the thing. I wouldn't even have given it a thought if
Mm-hmm.
those same elders didn't turn around and judge me and the others in the family. I mean,
Right.
even in 20, this is 2021. Even,
Oh, look at that
I
baby.
have
Oh my goodness.
I have cousins who got married, who had children, and in 2019, 2018, and
Mm-hmm.
their parents, their moms weren't too keen on it when they found out, because she was, in a relationship, but she wasn't married, you
Right.
know. And so even in 2018, people in the family, mothers in the family, are still having an issue because, and this is the thing though, this is the bottom line. Why is that? Because there is, and it's not placed on the men, but there
Mm-hmm.
is a value judgment placed on us women
Okay.
attached to our sensuality or our sexuality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
you have a child, that means you're having sex.
Mm-hmm.
There is a value judgment placed on us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're having sex
Right.
and there's no children, nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows. But if you have a child, then oh my God, everybody knows you're having sex before marriage. And again, we come from this religious
Mm-hmm.
background. Even though, let me tell you something. This is the other reason why we have to. This is a good topic because we
Mm-hmm.
have to stop the madness. And I think I heard you say,
Break this down.
yeah, I think I heard you say on one of the lives about how the ministers are saying, I think it was part one, how
Mm-hmm.
ministers are saying, oh, they're against this, but in reality, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that it blows my mind how people pick apart the Bible. Religious
Yeah.
people pick apart the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can judge you for this and judge you for that, but everybody's fornicating.
Yeah.
Everybody's fornicating. But yet
Yeah.
you're going to tell
Too
me that.
much of the population that's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody, I mean, and a lot of times there's evidence coming out because ministers, uh the young girl that the brother in Baltimore that loves
Mm-hmm.
to be a celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
his wife is a housewife,
Yeah.
um
Come on.
of Potomac or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
how he fathered children, and some of these girls were really young and blah blah blah, but he's still on the pulpit, you know what I mean? And so there's evidence of it. We're all fornicating, so let's stop pretending that this doesn't happen, that we're not having sex, and that there's not a strong pull for us to engage with each other on that level.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
See, I'm quick to tell people eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Eyes
I
on your
love
own
it.
paper.
I love
Worry
it.
about your own soul.
Yeah.
Stop trying to judge what this person is doing. I
Yeah.
think my biggest problem with religion and sexuality, sensuality, all of that is
Mm-hmm.
why is your sin different from my sin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sin is sin. Like love is love, sin is sin.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay? So, I have a relative who
And
was
I may not
wounded.
view it as sin.
Right. Oh yeah. I
Right. But
don't.
what
I
I'm
don't
That
saying
part.
is,
know.
okay,
But I
what
know
I'm
what,
saying
for the
is,
sake of your argument, I understand what you're
exactly.
saying.
Because
Yeah.
for example, like I have a relative who is wounded, because he was in the church and so, but he knew he was gay,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And he
Hmm.
always felt like, why is it that that's a topic that's brought up during
All the
service?
time. All the time.
Why is that talked down upon, but yet and still, this person in the choir and that person in the choir, they're having sex, and because it's not homosexual sex, so it's acceptable.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, that's lame. That
Very.
is really lame.
And that goes to them again picking, apart the Bible, which is
Yeah, that
why
whole
a lot of
cherry
people are
picking. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
a lot of people. Hey, Tanika and
Hi.
Dre. I'm
Hi.
sorry. I was
Hi.
wanted to add you guys into the queue while everybody was talking, but I was gonna get around to introducing you guys. But I've always wondered why that's always been something where, anything else in the Bible, it might be, something that they push, but sexuality in church, if you notice, I don't know if any of you guys been to churches lately. They don't tackle that subject as much anymore.
Uh-huh.
A lot of them stay away from that subject, especially when you look out in your audience and most 40% of it is gay. How
Mm-hmm.
can you tackle that subject when 40%
Mm-hmm.
of your audience is gay?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much
So
every
they,
choir that I have seen has had a choir director who was gay. Sorry, but it's true.
Hello.
yeah,
Hello.
yes, yes.
And I've been to a
So
lot of churches. Hello?
I'm like, well, how are y'all not, discussing this? I mean, obviously there's a problem in the church where this needs to be discussed. And how are you allowing um certain things to go on for years? Now I understand if you come into church and you feel that the religion of that church and the rules of that church is something that you can live by, but your life should reflect changes towards the direction of the rules of that religion. And in Christianity, I'm sorry to say that for the ones that are listening, I just don't see those changes quick enough in my book. Because if you believe what you read and you believe that the words that you're reading and you abide by the words you're reading, then your faith should be the strongest on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You should have no problems at all with sexual sin or any other sin, because the rules are clear as day. Do all of these 10 and you can have everything, handed to you on a silver platter. Why wouldn't we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
If it's that easy, why can't you do it? And why can't you stick to it?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are not asking themselves why that can't happen. I want to know that question. I'm going to keep asking until someone can answer to me why you cannot abide by the rules that you say you're governed by in church. Because until you can abide by them and stay with it, because I'm smart enough to know I cannot. That's why I'm not there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not going to, if there is an ever after, I'm not going to stand before anyone. If there's gods or however that's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
go, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to stand before God and say I led people astray by them looking at my good works is supposed to be what they're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
My good works was tainted by me fucking somebody. I'm doomed. I'm really doomed, you know.
Me
So
too.
Aren't we
I
all?
I
Aren't we
just don't
all?
know, right? Like, okay, then y'all
Mm-mm.
shouldn't follow me. Don't look at what I do. Stay away from my way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to chew on what you can with what I say and throw out the rest. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, the sexual part, I got an issue with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
struggling
You're,
there.
you're denying yourself, to me that's the sin. The sin is denying yourself in a relationship, or however you choose. I don't believe, like Andrea said, eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
As long as you're loving on you and taking the best
Mhm.
care of you, if you're loving on you and taking the best care of you, then you're attracting good energy. The goal is to attract good energy into your life. And
Right.
if you're attracting good energy into your life,
Mhm.
um, as two consenting adults who respect each other, and and you want to act out, whether it's in love or lust,
Right.
you want to express yourselves um, that way. I firmly believe there is nothing wrong with that. And um, to deny yourself that, I believe, to deny yourself the full experience of your sensuality, which is connected to your spirituality, I believe that's the sin. You
Yeah.
know,
I
I,
agree.
I agree with that. You know, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Tanika?
I agree. Absolutely. I don't feel, I don't believe in that anymore. I think those are old ways that we were taught, like as, young Christians, because, this is what we were told that we needed to do. I just feel like the world has evolved and people have evolved, and I'm not saying that we need to pick and choose or anything like that. I'm just saying when it comes to sexuality, I think we somehow pushed that under the rug. We don't really talk about it in churches um, anymore. I mean, everybody does it, but nobody talks about it, and it's not discussed in any kind of way. So I really feel like we should be having, that's where we should be having the conversations in the church.
I agree.
Agreed.
And
I
that's where we
agree.
should be open to actually have those conversations, but we don't. I mean,
Because
if
the
a young
pulpit is
girl,
sacred. Only thing
yeah,
the pulpit is sacred. Those conversations can't be had in the pulpit because the pulpit is tainted.
it's tainted. Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely. Say that shit. Yep,
It's
absolutely.
tainted. You
And
cannot bring a subject like that up, and I watched a lot of times where, certain pastors, that how they do the communion thing,
mm,
and
Hmm.
then they bring in the ark, like this little thing. It's an art thing where, you bring it down, and I guess it has in it some type of scrolls or something. It's something like that, and they bring it in during that ceremonial part of communion.
mm-hmm,
And I watched, where the pastor was very careful about it. It was sacred. It didn't have, you couldn't touch it unless you had been prayed over and, cleansed or whatever. You couldn't pray over it. And then I got to thinking, well, it's the same pastor that was just caught up in some mess with a woman in his church, but you're
mm,
touching it, but I can't touch it.
right.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Why
That
isn't
part.
it
Yeah.
not burning you if you're not supposed to touch it?
Yeah.
Because you got it in your hand as if it's so sacred, no one else can touch it. This is this type of stuff that I'm talking about. Stop doing people like that because people are not dumb anymore, people. They're not dumb. They're not taking what you're saying as the status quo, that this is the life. Because I feel that no matter what it started off as in religion is not how it has to end.
Right.
I think that religion, can evolve. The scriptures can, give me a book with a bunch of, I want a fresh new set of prophets. Because some of the old prophets, they believed in some crazy stuff, including
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
slavery, including
But you know,
doing things to women. Give me
mhm.
a fresher, because I don't think the old, laws apply. Some of them, though, don't get me wrong, some of them do. But the old laws don't apply to the new Christian today. Because if y'all
Yeah.
couldn't keep the commandments back then, and it's still years and years down the line, it's hard to keep certain of those commandments. Then I think it needs some help.
Hmm. But look, let's talk about the fact that let's talk about what you just said.
Mhm.
He was basically
Yeah,
um he went against his own the scriptures,
right.
right?
Hmm.
And but
Got a
yet
streak
and
on.
it was known, right?
Hmm.
So you
Yeah,
knew about it,
the,
so that
the
meant other
church,
people
the
knew
whole
about
church
it,
found
right?
out about it. Yeah.
But yet he's telling the congregation that if for them to touch it, they have to be purified, right? They have to go
Cleansed
through some
and
kind of
no,
In
without
Lake
Lake of
leaving.
Minnetonka?
Minnetonka.
Was it in Lake
Without,
Minnetonka?
yeah.
In the Lake of Minnetonka.
Like, hey, like, yes, that's the way he
We
made
said it
us
at the
feel.
Please
same
stop
time.
playing.
That's the way he made
so
us feel.
but
Purifying
check that
souls
out
in the
though.
Lake of
That's
Minnetonka.
that is and you ladies kind of help me here. There is like even though he committed quote unquote a sin,
Hmm.
he is still sitting on the pulpit looking down on the
Mhm.
congregation,
That part.
telling the congregation
That part.
that
Mhm.
they need to be purified, right?
Hmm.
So
Before touching
what
the
does that
the
do
Ark
to
of the
your
Covenant.
psyche? Even if
Mhm.
even if he had not been found out, he would have still been looking down on the congregation, telling us that we need to be purified. So
Mhm.
what does that do for your psyche as the member of the congregation? You're thinking something is wrong with you.
It
You're
makes you feel unworthy. And the reality of the matter is, God takes you as you are. Right
Mhm.
now, rusty, dusty, all of it. Needing
Right.
some doggone
Right.
lotion on your elbows, the whole thing takes you as you are.
Right.
So that
absolutely
nonsense, I don't care what that pastor says. I don't feel judged by any of them. I don't feel
Mhm.
judged by another human being
Mm-mm.
Right.
because they are not God. I do believe that there is a higher power.
Me
Absolutely.
too.
Mhm.
Me too.
Yeah, me
Call it
too.
spirit, whatever you refer.
Him and her.
My
I
whole
call him him and her.
absolute. There you
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm. Mother,
However you and
father,
see
mother,
that's the way
father,
you
God.
know if
Mhm.
we had been incorporating every aspect of God, we wouldn't
Mhm.
have so many issues
Right.
because women are nurturing. So
Mhm.
all we've looked at is the patriarchal aspect of it,
Okay.
right? And
Mhm.
it's not as nurturing. Think about what, quote unquote, being a man is about. I'm not saying that men themselves cannot be nurturing because we're
Mm-hmm.
human. We can all have
Right.
nurturing qualities.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
the reality of the matter is that's not what you think of when you think of a man. But when you think of a
Mhm.
woman, you think of nurturing. A
Right.
woman, we want us to have the full experience,
Mhm.
all of it, the
Mm-hmm.
good, the bad, the
Mm-hmm.
ugly, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And will embrace us still. And will embrace us still, just as we are.
I remember growing up, and Tasha, you know this. Remember when Mom used to tell us that we can't take communion unless our heart is right with God, or unless everything is right with God. And I was always scared to do it. To this day, because
Mhm.
I knew I wasn't shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Woohoo! She's
And I
funny.
didn't want to blasphemy or whatever you want to call it
Mm,
towards God,
Mhm.
because I would be up there lying. And
right.
it's sad because I felt convicted even as a
Mm.
child,
Mhm.
knowing my heart ain't right. I'm thinking bad thoughts. I'm thinking about a whole bunch of shit. You know what I'm
You stepping
saying?
on
Like,
cracks,
I
trying
would,
to break your mama's back, all of it. I get
right,
you.
right. I
Yeah.
was always so afraid. And to this day, at age 49, I
Mhm.
still
Mm.
have never taken communion because I
And
know my
Wow.
shit ain't right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
and
not
you
going
know
to be
what?
up there doing something that just because it's a ritual to do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I feel like a lot of people, it's
It is a ritual.
traditional, it's a ritual for them to do,
It is.
to take it every third Sunday or every fourth Sunday or whatever. I,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like majority of them, they shit ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
They in
we're
there
kind
getting a
of
free snack.
lying. We're kind of going against whatever the word of God says in the first place. I think a lot of people who do
Take it out of
partake in
context.
communion ain't got their shit right.
Mhm.
It,
And I, you know
so
what? I agree with you on that, Tanika, even to this day. And I've been around where communion was happening, and because of what Mom put in us,
right, it was
I'm
literal. Like
always
I was a
thinking
very
like, wait
literal
a minute, what did
person.
I do last night? Should I
Right.
take this today? No, I'm good. I'm a pass,
I
bro.
did the
Go ahead.
walk of shame on my way to church this morning. I don't think I'll take that communion. Thanks, though.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want
Right.
to fall dead. I wanted to
Mm,
live another day.
Wendy. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness.
But
I always felt like God was gonna strike me down. Like, they put that fear into you, and
Yeah.
like something bad is gonna happen to you. And so
And
I
the
was
quiet
always
and the
fearful
funny
of that.
part is that nothing's ever happened to them. So, but we just weren't
Right.
smart enough to realize they ain't
Right.
dropped
We're
dead
so
yet.
gullible.
It's so
So
sad because
gullible,
having
right?
a really sincere relationship with your creator is
Yeah,
the most beautiful thing.
yeah.
Right.
absolutely.
You know,
And it's
knowing
different
that,
than church.
and
Let
it
me
is
say that.
totally different from church. I'm not even, yeah.
It's not even
Um,
a church experience, y'all. When you got that
no,
real closeness to the creator, it
absolutely.
has nothing to
That is
do with
such
the
a
church.
Exactly.
beautiful experience.
Absolutely.
So how
Absolutely.
Mhm.
sad that going to service where you're supposed to, you know, be with other people who are of the same thought process because we're all supposed to be there to
Fellowship.
commune
Hmm.
with
Same
our
mindset, right?
creator, right? That's
Yeah.
supposedly our reasoning. But because you're feeling so judged, you wind up turning away from God as opposed to turning towards God.
Teach.
It's terrible. It's really sad because I'm listening to what you're saying, and
Mhm.
that should not be the message that you're getting.
Yeah. And
Amen.
Because
that's
God
the
is
message
accepting
we
us
grew
just
up
as
with.
we are, just as we.
Hmm.
Moses, hello,
Right. And I mean,
hello.
that message
Let's
was
look at our
also taught
prophet.
as well, but it was like, it was kind of like you said, cherry picking. That message was taught as well, come as you are, but it was kind of contradictory. Like, okay, come as
Mm.
you are, but at the same time, it's like, but if you
But
take
come
it,
correct. Come as
like,
you are, but come correct.
right, like if you take it, this is what might happen to you and everything. So it was all that mixed messaging. Going
Right.
back to the religion of, I'm sorry, going back to religion and the role that it plays. I mean, even in church, you had the little young girl who got pregnant by some boy in the church and everything, and then they were forced into marriage and everything, and
Mm.
And a
clearly
miserable
wasn't
life.
ready and stuff. And this is how we teach our children or our young
Horrible thing to
folks
do.
how to deal with, sex or just the thought of sex in church. It's like, okay, well, you done had sex and now you got a baby on the way. Now you might as well go ahead and marry him. And then you got two unhappy people who really
Yeah.
haven't found themselves.
Don't know
And then
what
Yeah.
they
the
decide,
hell they're doing.
right. And then they get married and then they have these children and everything. And their children grow up in the same type of
The
environment that
cycle.
Dysfunction.
they grew up
Absolutely.
in. And it just
Mm-hmm.
continues. That cycle continues over and
Mhm.
over again.
Right.
Like I said, that conversation should be had, number one, in the home, but it
Yeah.
also should be reiterated in the church. And the way that we deal with sex in churches, which is the reasons why I don't deal with churches, is because we don't have those conversations. And
Yeah,
people grow
they're
up
not keeping it
thinking,
real.
Mm-mm.
right,
And
Nowhere
it's,
people
and
near.
grow
it's
up thinking, I was wrong because I listened
mm,
to my sexual desires or I paid attention to my sexual
yeah.
desires. Like, we should be paying attention to that when we with our children and having that conversation. I had conversations with my son. My youngest one is not a virgin. My oldest one is. He's not having, he's having sex before marriage. I don't have, as long as you protect yourself and you
Mhm.
take care of the girl that you with. He's only been with that one girl. Like, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever.
Me
And
either.
I
Me
just
Right.
feel like we just should be having open conversations with our children so
And the
that they
fact that
don't fall
you
into
left
these victims.
and the fact that you left that door open for that conversation
Yeah,
to be had.
I didn't teach my kids about religion. I let them figure it out on their own because I feel like religion, like I said, a couple of weeks ago when we had these conversations, I feel
Mhm.
like we're forcing our children to believe the way that we believe. And they may very
Mm-hmm.
well believe something completely different. I'm going to give you the basics. Treat people right. Do this and
Right.
Brother
this and
Dawud
this.
is
You
coming
know what I
in.
There you
mean?
go.
And then you figure it out, whatever religion you decide you want to be when you have the right mind to figure it out yourself, then you do it. But I'm not going to force how I believe onto you. I'm going to give you the
Mhm.
basics, and that's that. And
Right.
let you choose which life
Mhm.
or which role and what journey you want to take into your
Mhm.
life. But
Mhm.
forcing
Absolutely.
children to believe how you believe, I just feel there's something wrong with that. I don't
I
want that
I
for my
agree.
kids.
I agree. And to
Brother
your
Dawud
point,
is here.
hey brother, and to your point, sis, the most important thing I think that covers so much is to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Hmm.
If you
Exactly.
treat
I
people
believe
the
in
way
that
you want to be
scripture.
treated, that covers the gamut.
Exactly. I raised some amazing humans, man. That's the way I see it.
That
Yeah.
is
They're the
beautiful.
shit, And so to me, that makes me more proud than him messing with some little girl that he
Mhm.
been with since for the last year. He been with
Mhm.
only her, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And they,
Mhm.
practice safe sex and they do all, I'm listen. I'm not one of those type of progressive moms or anything like that, but at the same time, I just want him to make, of course, very sound decisions on, how he treats women and all of that stuff. He knows how to. Me and his dad, we taught him that stuff.
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
trust him to make the right decision. He already
Yeah.
told me I ain't having no kids. I can't stand kids. So you know what I mean? Like, I'm not
Mhm.
tripping off of anything like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I just feel like those conversations should be had when kids start, discovering their bodies and everything.
Mhm.
And it should
Mhm.
be reinforced if they're in church every week. It
Mhm.
should be reinforced in Sunday school. It should be reinforced, all of that.
Mhm.
Soon as
And it should be
Sunday
working
school
together.
is
The
perfect
parents
for
in the church should be
Right.
working together to spread those
I agree.
messages, the right
I
Mhm.
agree.
messaging.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
It should
Mhm.
be a safe
And
place in the
yeah,
home as well as in church. They should be
Mhm.
able to
Exactly.
say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I like this boy. I like this girl.
Mhm.
whatever it is, I'm having
Yeah.
Mhm.
these feelings and I don't know what to do with them.
Mhm.
I
And
don't,
Exactly.
not be
and
I'm
does it make
judged
me a
grateful
for
bad
that
feeling
person?
that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then
Brother
you wouldn't
But
Douglas.
to
have so
tell
much,
children
so
that they
many,
can't do it, all you're doing is setting them up for failure. If
yeah.
you tell them they can't, they're going to do exactly what you tell them not to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What
Especially
I
if
look
you've
like
not
saying, no, I don't
discussed
want you
anything.
fucking.
Mhm.
Especially if you've not discussed anything with them and let
Mhm.
them know
Exactly.
that this is natural, that you are
Yeah.
going to
Exactly.
have these feelings and it is normal and it is
Yep.
acceptable and it's okay.
Right.
Because then they're going to sneak around and do it. They're
Yep.
not going to
Mhm.
protect themselves. They're going to wind up with babies or whatever, that they
Mhm.
don't unwanted children at an age where
Yep.
they can handle it. This
Mhm.
Right.
is why we have these perpetual circumstances, because we have not allowed our children to have a safe place where they can express
Exactly.
themselves.
Right.
They
And
can
as a
speak on what
result
they're
of
feeling.
me
Especially in
having that safe,
religion.
providing that safe space, he tells me everything.
Mhm.
He
You're
has
blessed. You're
all of those
blessed.
conversations,
Sometimes
even
too
Great
when his
much.
job,
girlfriend is
mom. Great
pissing him
job.
off. He tells me everything, and I feel happy that he feels comfortable enough to have those conversations. Like, Mom, why is she mad? Because then I can provide it from a woman's point of view.
Yes,
What's
yes,
going on? Yeah, I know we don't make any sense why we get mad about dumb shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
can tell him from a
that's
woman's point of
beautiful.
view,
That's
Right.
this is what you
beautiful.
got to look forward to, son. This is
And then
why,
you know what?
yeah, it
Your
doesn't make,
answer, Tamika, your answer just now made me laugh, but in a good way, because
right.
you didn't take your son's side. You said it
Exactly.
from not only, the girl said, and I try to do that with my sons too. I hear you, but if you wrong, you wrong. Okay. If
mm,
you don't understand this is why she's feeling this way. The fact that you would do that, because there's a lot of moms that don't take responsibility and will cover their son's wrong
Exactly.
no
Nah,
matter
nah, bro.
what,
Nah.
no
He
matter
know that he
what.
don't get that
you
from
know.
me.
And that's going off the subject. I just wanted to,
Right.
say that was an
Yeah.
awesome thing that you do that. But let
Mhm.
me let
Absolutely.
brother Muhammad say something to this topic. Brother Muhammad,
I'm sorry, because I'm here, but where are we at? Like, what are we talking about right
we're
now?
we're talking about and it led into what we were discussing concerning should sex before marriage be a thing that you do or not do, and why. And we're still discussing about sexuality and religion, why they feel that sex before marriage is a good idea as opposed to a bad idea, because we got a lot of reasons why it's a bad idea and we got a lot of reasons why it's a good idea.
It's my personal belief, from my experience, that the ultimate goal of religion revolving sex is to control it,
Thank
and
you.
Thank
really,
you.
Mm.
you
Mhm.
cannot really profit off of sex if you don't control it. And so,
Okay.
a lot of people come to church, temple, synagogue, mosque, whatever, and they're not coming for God per se. They're coming hand in hand for God and a mate.
Mhm.
And I would say that, the
Tamika, we
church
can
may
hear
be
the
filled up
dog.
with more women.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
The,
I'm sorry. I get that's the pitter patter of
the
her
church may
dog's
be filled
feet.
up with more women than men. Um, the church may be filled up with more women than men, and like places like, Islamic kind of situations would have more men than women. But bar
Okay.
none, the people that come there, they say they're looking for God, but what they're really looking for is a good mate that can be controlled by that religion.
Okay.
So when a guy says, "I just want a good Christian woman," translation, I want a woman that's controlled by Christian doctrine. And when a woman says, "I want a good Christian man," translation, I want a man that's controlled by Christian doctrine. Because
Hmm.
what the hell would be the difference? Why would they have to? And then you have some people that demand that you have to be going to that particular house. Like they demand,
The
but I don't just want you to
denomination.
be a Christian. I want you to be going to church. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I can't deal with nobody that's not going to church. I don't want you to be, I don't want you just to believe in Islam. You got to go to the mosque. Well, what are you saying when you say that? What you're saying is, I want somebody that I can control. Because keep it 100. It's really I can control with that particular religion. So when you transfer it to sex, then it becomes a situation where a person will use whatever the hell they want to use in the holy books to kind of control the parameters of sex, what you can and what you cannot do, which to me is crazy because I think that religion controls sex through two basic things: shame and guilt. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? So, in
Yes.
other
Say
words,
that.
the more religion that you have, the more religion that you have surrounding sex, the more shame and guilt you have for basic stuff that you're doing. And I
Yes.
was talking to somebody offline. I think it was Holland, Mark. Me and him was talking just the other night. And I said to him, I said, bro, I remember sitting in the meeting and it was telling me what you could do, what you couldn't do. And I'm not going to say what you can do, what you can't do here, but it's very basic. Very basic. It's not even at the higher levels of sex. And I remember saying to myself, well, I'm not obeying that shit right there. But either way, that being said, there's a lot of shame and guilt around sex. And if you think about it, the stories about sex in the Bible and the way they're being preached to black people, you know what I'm saying, with the Adam and Eve story, and then you have a lot of incest and rape and all sorts of different things that happen in the holy books, making sex
Mhm.
look dirty. So
Very.
when you thinking you as a man or a woman, you think you're being a good Christian man or a good Christian woman, you want to try your best to do what? You want to try your best to look good in the eyes of so-called good Christian men, women, or Muslim men, women, or Jewish men, women, or whatever. And who the hell who determines how good you look based on what? And so for me, when it comes to sex before marriage, I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's a control tactic. I
Yeah.
really do. You can decide whether you want
Agreed.
to have sex before marriage or not. But let's be very honest. I mean, I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago. But the younger
Welcome.
generation, my children, my oldest daughter is, thank you. My oldest daughter is 24, and my youngest daughter is 7, right? She's going to
Okay.
be 8 this year. And my younger children are not talking about getting married because they have seen the failure of the institution of marriage. They don't want no parts of it. So if you grow up in a religion and you don't want no parts of marriage, but you want to have sex, what do you do? It becomes a really huge conundrum. And for
Well, let
me,
me.
I don't know. Good, I'm sorry.
Well, you know what, brother, Muhammad, when you say that, it breaks my heart because that's what I see too. I hear that all the
Right.
time. I don't want marriage. No, I'm just gonna have a partner, and I may not even have. I see it so much, even in my family. Where marriage is not the ideal thing to do no more because they've seen so many times that it failed. And being in church, how does a marriage fail in church? When they made marriage to be the end all, the goal that you're trying to reach, how does that fail in church?
Oh,
Because
I
church
can give
is
you many ways.
tainted.
I
Yeah.
give you, but here's what I would say to you though. Here's what I would say to you about the young. We have to trust the young. There's a book that I forget exactly what the author is, but there's a book that's a very powerful spiritual book. It's called Indigo Adults,
Okay.
and this
And
particular book talks about new age children of the Aquarian age, and they call them indigo adults because the new age children they have like this indigo aura around them when they're born.
yeah,
And what I'm saying to you is we have to trust the universe, our ancestors, and our children's evolutionary development that they're going to figure out the next level. Our concept of marriage is not correct, obviously, because the shit don't work. And so therefore, I think that we can get nervous if we want to, but the reality of it is these children are going to figure this thing out. They're going to come up with the new version of how we deal with and relate to one another. We just have to trust them enough to go ahead and do it because I think that that's what they were born for. And I've said this on many occasions. Me coming from the Black Power movement and having spent my entire adult life in it, it's crazy, but it makes sense to me now that we don't have a second generation of none of the movements. There's no such thing as a second generation of the nation, of Marcus Garvey, of the Moors. There's no such thing as a second generation. All the second generation children don't want to have nothing to do with these movements. Why? Because they saw all of us suffer in poverty. And let's keep it 100. They saw us suffer in bad relationships, and
yes,
they didn't want no part of it.
Mm-hmm.
They still want to be, if they grew up under you and there was a more, they still want to practice that to some degree. If they grew up under you and you practice African spirituality, they want to practice that. They just don't want to join your organization because they watched you come home and cry and be angry because you got disrespected or alienated, and they don't want no parts of that shit. And
Yes.
so therefore, at likewise, they watched us marry and it failed. I believe that they have been given the instructions in how to correct this thing. And we got to trust them because we tried to do it and it didn't work. So
Right.
the whole idea for me of, oh, I don't want to have sex before marriage, like, I don't like, to me, I laugh when I hear that. You know what I'm saying? Because what exactly are you proving by not having sex before marriage? What exactly are you proving? What exactly? So I'm supposed to respect you more because we didn't have sex before marriage, when we all know who have been married on this panel that you could not have sex all you want to and then have sex after marriage and the shit gets stale and you don't want to have sex with that partner no more. So you're telling
That
me
part.
that because you didn't have sex before marriage, that when it got stale, that had something to do with it? Did it help it? Did it not help it? And it has nothing to do with it. It's just something that somebody told us not to do, that was in a religious organization that said that that would make your marriage better. And it's bullshit. It really is. To
It is
me,
because there's a
sex.
lot of people that have done that
Yep.
and they failed at it.
Total
They
bullshit.
get together, you guys, they get together and we've all seen those people get together and this is both versions. They tried to do it by the book, and then sometimes people get together don't know how to be intimate with the other person. That person hearing from her
Right.
girlfriends how sex really supposed to be, and he for hearing from his guys, oh man, I do it like this, I do this and do this and do that. And then you go home to the person that you're a virgin to and you got married to, and y'all two are sitting there like, what the hell are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to make
Exactly.
it like what they're talking about? So
Exactly.
it's
And then think about it this way, sis. If you
mhm,
are a really conservative religious person, right, which means that
right.
you don't go left too much, you don't go right too much, and somebody
Mhm.
says, well, I want you to do this, insert here. And you're like, I don't do that. I'm a Christian. The fuck are you
Right.
talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you talking about? So our sex life is going to be predicated on what some of the man who wrote a book is going to tell us what to do. It sounds crazy when you say it out your mouth,
Yeah,
but I
out
can't
loud.
I can't tell you I never heard that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you I never heard that.
Mhm.
So for me, I don't know. I just think that
Even brother Muhammad, even with sexual positions, women are
yes,
afraid to say what they have done or what they're willing to do because of how religion has made us feel concerning
right,
certain things. So you're not
right,
going to admit that you like this and this with that guy on the first, or that the times that you're together
right.
or dating or whatever. You're not going to admit that. A lot of women lie. We lie. Oh, I've never sucked a dick. No, I would. Oh God, I'm a Christian. I don't put dicks in my mouth. And just had one before they got to the date. You know what I'm saying? Just dumb shit. But
Right.
Right.
we're afraid of looking bad, and like you said before, and I think Mario was saying before, as well as the rest everybody on the panel, we have to we our next generation has to know more than what we knew, because I feel like to some degree we are failing them by not allowing
Hmm.
them to understand it how we should have understood it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I want to say one
Yeah.
last thing about the sex before marriage thing, if I
Hmm.
could.
Yes.
To me, if you put such an emphasis and pedestal on sex, you have to wait till I get married to get my sex. Well, what comes after that? You know what I'm saying? So you're basically saying that your ultimate prize is your sex, not who you are, not what you like, not your personality, not your ability to bring great value to this relationship. It's really just your sex. And once I get your sex, what the fuck else comes after that? And that is the $1 million question that we have to ask ourselves when we place such a high emphasis and pedestal on sex after marriage. And
Right.
God forbid it's not good. God forbid it's not good. Because if you've been telling me, oh my God, when you marry me, you finally get my sex and it's terrible. I mean, what kind of position are you
Yo,
in? And
that
this
is
goes
the
for men and
worst in the
women too.
world, man. I imagine if it's trash, like afterwards, like
Exactly.
y'all on the night of y'all honeymoon, and you find out it's trash. Like
Right.
you already
Right.
stuck. Annulment? No, just kidding. Like
Listen, it's trash.
You
It's trash
married me
under
now.
God. It's
Mhm.
trash under God. You know what I'm
Um,
saying? So now, in the name of the Lord, you can't fuck. You know
right,
what I'm saying? And
right.
that's really like, I
and
don't
then
know,
you're
man. I just, to me,
stuck
that
in a
whole
relationship
institution
where you
of,
can't get pleasure and get what you need
exactly,
in
And they
that
exactly.
can't say
relationship.
anything. Yeah.
And
For
we all
me,
know that there's certain aspects of religion where you're not supposed to please the woman. I mean, we can go on and on here. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So
yep.
yeah, I don't know. I feel very bad for people who follow religion and use it as a guideline for sex, because that's a recipe for disaster. And that's all I'm going to say.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
Mari.
Um, I'm still stuck on. I still want to go back to and elaborate on what you said, sis, about the minister who was looking down on the congregation,
Hmm.
and because when I think of, and again, I do not want to offend anyone.
Hmm.
I'm always very concerned about when I participate in a talk because I
Hmm.
have people from all walks of life.
Right.
But I'm sharing, look, but Holub always reminds me that this is my perspective. And just
Yeah.
like everybody can have their perspective,
Hmm.
I can certainly have mine.
Right.
Um, One of the things when I think of religion, when I think of the pastor who looked down on the congregation and said that you needed to be purified, even though he had just committed what he preaches about is as a sin has been found out. I
Hmm.
think
Oh,
of,
let's add Bishop Long into that.
oh, right. All of
Let's
them.
add his dirty ass into
Yeah,
that.
all of them.
Because Bishop Long was notorious for talking
Mhm.
about gay people in the pulpit and how bad it was, how ugly it was, and how sinful it was, only to find out that he didn't think none of that at all.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm. And to that point, let me pivot a little bit to your point with that.
He loved it.
Anytime, yeah, anytime anyone is so caught up in what another person is doing in their bedroom, you
Mhm.
have to raise your eyebrows
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I do not care. I will refuse to judge someone based on something that is none of my business.
Right.
Right.
So if you
Right.
who you sleep with, how you call God God, how you refer to God, or if you don't call God God at all, is
Mhm.
none of my business.
Right.
So I refuse to judge anyone based on something that is none of my business. If
Mhm.
you are caught up in my business, whatever my business is, I have to look at you because there's something to it for you.
No
Okay,
doubt.
so that's that. But when I think of religion, when I think of Christianity, when I think of a minister looking down on someone and telling them what they should and shouldn't do, and then they're doing it or even not, I think of the fact that missionaries went to Africa,
Mhm.
colonizers went to Africa and
Mm-hmm.
gave Africans religion while they took our gold.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Right.
happened.
So,
That
Mm-hmm.
happened.
so because the gold that I, as an African, was born amongst, the
Mhm.
magnetic earth that if I walk barefoot feeds my body and gives me power,
Mhm.
you took all that away from me and
Mhm.
told me that my reward, now my reward and my heaven was actually here on earth,
Mhm.
right? Based on all the gifts that God gave me in Africa. But
Mhm.
you came in and you stripped me of all of that
Right.
and told me that my reward is now in heaven. And I have to abide by all these rules
Mhm.
because my reward is in heaven.
Right.
So,
Wait till you die to
so
get to be happy.
right. So all the things that feed me, all the things that feeds my soul,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to remove it one by all these rules that supposedly connected. I'm going to make you feel that you were born a sinner. I'm going to make you feel that you were born, that something is wrong with you, when actually you are the most powerful people on the earth. But I'm going to
Say that
take
shit.
away all your power
Mm-hmm.
and tell you to read all these books and tell you that you're no good. You were born no good. And you got to fight, and you're fighting literally. I mean, I watch beautiful, intelligent relatives of mine
Mm-hmm.
suffer through life and deny themselves so
Same here.
many things based
Mm-hmm.
on religion.
Yeah.
Yet I
Mhm.
know, because I grew up in church, again, Catholic and Protestant. I lived in church. And I'm not going to say there are things of it I love gospel music.
Yeah.
I love instrumentation. Although I'm not going to say in every religion there's something that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that I can take a piece from everything, from the Buddhist to the Yoruba, to the Akan, to the Christian, to the Muslim. I can take a piece of that, and guess what? My sanctuary is not outside of my home. My sanctuary is my home. I am more connected to God when I get up in the morning and I say those two words, thank you. And then I
Mm-hmm.
say those two words, I am. Because
Mm-hmm.
I believe that whatever follows those two words, I am, follows me. I'm not
Right.
the author of that, but I definitely live by that. So, control, taking
Mm-hmm.
our power away,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, there's power in your sensuality. And
Mm-hmm.
again, sensuality and spirituality are connected. There's power in that, in our
Mm-hmm.
sensuality. So, no, I cannot believe, I'm not going to believe any book outside of me, because I know that when I say thank you and when I say I am, and when I listen to spirit and allow my internal GPS, which is the God power within me, to guide my life,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I live the rewards, and that's what I always reference as the magic of life. I live that every day.
Thank you. Oh my God. Wow. Brother,
Amen.
Brother Muhammad, could you break down the word undefiled for
The word
those that are
defile.
listening? Because yeah, when the
Hmm.
Bible says that the bed is undefiled, the marriage bed is undefiled, what does
Oh,
that mean? The word undefiled.
well, basically, most people understand undefiled as that means you didn't have no sex yet, which it
Hmm.
is what it is. Because I could have slept in that bed and I could have done all manners of things to myself, or I could have been thinking all manners of things. And does that defile the bed? You know what I'm saying? So I
Mhm.
think that that's a cockamamie kind of idea. I really do.
Okay.
I
Because we use that, they use that
again,
to justify what can and cannot be done in the bedroom.
oh yeah, without a doubt. You know what I mean? And that's listen, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's like you know, it's a method of control.
Hmm.
And like we said in the last show, it is always the high officials that have the best sex, and the peons get to have basic sex,
Yeah.
which is crazy because
Hmm.
you will then get older, and as you get older, things will come to you. You'll realize certain things, and you'll say, "Damn, they was doing this all this time, and I could have been enjoying it too, but I wasn't." But I want to kind of veggie back off of what my sister said, which I must continue to profess my love for her ability to speak because it's incredible.
Oh,
And
thank
I
it's
you,
think
true.
brother.
that
Thank you. Thank
um
you so much.
I think that um I I hold a group called the Men's Accountability Group every 2 weeks, and one of the brothers said this, and I found it to be fascinating. He said that as African people, we never really took the resources around us to be precious because they were around us and we had an abundance mindset. When the colonizer came around us, they had a scarcity mindset, and they took what we had and what we saw we had, more than enough of. They assigned a greater value to it, but before they stole it. So
Right.
if you think about that, and then you transfer that to your sex and what some of us call love making, some of us call sex, whatever you want to call it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and maybe one day we should have that conversation also. What is the difference between sex and lovemaking?
Oh,
Mhm.
that's
Because
cool.
some people don't think
That's
there's such a thing as lovemaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that don't think there's a such thing as lovemaking. They think it's all sex and love is something that's in your mind and you making that shit up. It's you from the European. And I would strongly beg to differ. But either
Mm-hmm.
way, I think that the same way I think religion has assigned a certain value to sex from a scarcity mindset. And basically they make it seem as though the less sex that you have, the more valuable it is. Right or
Right.
wrong? The
Mm-hmm.
less sex you
Right.
have, the more valuable it is, and the less sex you have, the more valuable you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you as a woman get with a man, you're a good Christian woman. If you really ain't had no partners, or you had few partners, which, like you said, Latasha, leads you to lie and say you didn't have no sex. Meanwhile, a dude is much more apt to be happy with you if you know what you doing in the bedroom, you know what I'm saying, than to not know. So now
Mm-hmm.
you got this crazy conundrum in your head created by religion, which is damn. They're telling me that I should want a virgin, but a virgin ain't gonna know how to satisfy or please me. Me, myself as a man, I was out there already, so I know I'm not a virgin. And you see how cockamamie and crazy this shit can get?
Yeah.
It's all convoluted.
Serious
So
virgin.
to
Yeah.
me, it's the same it's the same thing as what we learned about our ancestors and where they lived and what was around them. They looked at it's the same thing as the Native Americans in America. When
Mm-hmm.
the Caucasian came to America, the Native Americans had abundance of land, riches, and things around them. And the Caucasian had the scarcity mindset and was like, we got to gather all of this stuff up before somebody takes it from us. And so all of these wars started happening in America from what? From a
Agreed.
scarcity mindset. If you enter into a sexual relationship with a woman or a man with a scarcity mindset,
Mm-hmm.
then you know that sexual relationship is destined to be disastrous because it to me it takes an abundance of sex to make good sex. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. It really does.
Yes.
Because you meet somebody on the first time, they don't really know what you like. You don't know what they like. So you got to have it again and again and again, and it has to be communication. And as the
Mm-hmm.
communication, it gets better over time. But if you just think we had it that one time and it was great, you know you lying. You know damn well you lying. It wasn't great because you're looking forward to the next time where she's possibly going to remember I like this or he's possibly going to remember I like that. And I've heard a lot of women that I've talked to. They say I hate teaching a guy the same thing every time we have. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if you have a scarcity mindset, then you won't want to have it a lot because you think that the less you have it, the better it is. And I think that that's what we get from religion. I think that's what we get from the colonizer also.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Tamika, Andrea. There's so much to unwrap on this subject. I mean, I got so many questions in my head. It's so much to unwrap on this. I let me say this: the women that are in church, who are still waiting on God to send them a mate. Um, I think that even the stories of how that's supposed to go are not being told to you correctly. Um,
Right.
the Boaz story, if you really read the Boaz story and the Naomi and Ruth story, that's not Boaz was not, you know, he wasn't the savior of Ruth, Naomi, whoever, whichever one it was. It didn't go down like you think it went down. It seems like with Ruth and Naomi, Ruth kind of, schooled her on how to go in and get a man.
Hmm.
It wasn't the story that we've been taught, ladies. It wasn't. So sometimes when you're sitting there waiting on God to send you a Boaz, um, read that scripture again. Really read that scripture and understand it for what it is today. Stop reading the scriptures and acting like it's some characters on a TV screen that's being played out in front of you. No, these were the if they were actual people, They breathed just like you and I. They had color just like you and I. They had feelings, heart, situation. Everything about them was real. So if you're real, your thoughts are real. How you doesn't the Bible say there's nothing new under the sun?
Mhm.
Same things that's happened then happens now. So some of the principles I think that we're taught, we're not really paying attention to it. Some of these scriptures have been tainted and twisted in order to fit a certain
Hmm.
agenda that we're not paying attention to. Go back, and I implore you to go back and reread some of the things that you believe in your particular religion, because you might find a
Right.
different understanding if your vibration is a lot higher now. But go ahead.
Hmm.
Anyone else?
Um,
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go
no, no,
ahead. Go
no.
ahead.
Go ahead, Tanika. I said a lot
No,
already.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm not waiting on God to bring me a mate.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not. Like, I just feel like that's the most dumbest shit ever to me personally, to be waiting on God to bring somebody to you and everything. I'm waiting on me to find my energy, my vibration to attract that energy that is supposed to be for me. So waiting on an outside entity to send someone to me when I sit my ass in the house every day, like, it ain't gonna happen. You feel me? My energy is going to attract whatever energy is supposed to be for me. And that's just kind of how I
Right.
look at it. I'm not waiting around for God to bring somebody to me or to send somebody, the perfect person in my life. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think you'll be waiting forever. You truly will
And
if
that's
you're
where
waiting on that.
religion has, I feel that religion has failed in that dating aspect to women, not only to men but to women. We failed in that,
I agree.
and
Lord,
that needs
I'm
that
sorry,
needs
my
to
cat and my
change
dog is
immediately. If you
losing
got
their.
young people in church now, what? Okay, somebody's sound is really.
Sorry.
Oh, is that okay?
No, that wasn't me. I was putting the dog and the cat out because they're fighting.
Oh, okay.
You two get out.
I think the messaging again, it's still everything boils down to power. For you, sis, to be not to be smart enough to know, I'm not going to be waiting on God again. Everything is, and everything is about power. You declare what you want for yourself.
Mhm.
You affirm
Absolutely.
what you want. You give thanks for what you want, because gratitude is the highest vibratory force in the universe. So you declare what you give thanks for it. I am so happy and grateful for. You prepare for it. If you want to
Right.
mate,
And
if you
I
want to
feel like I
mate,
can manifest whatever I want in my life when
exactly,
it's ready.
Speak truth to
exactly. When
power.
you
Speak
want, when you
truth
want
to
it, when you
power.
really want it, you
Right.
prepare for it, right? And you manifest it.
Mhm.
So, but in
Stay on
terms,
that. Stay on that right there, Mari. When you
okay,
say, when you really want it, say that again.
when you really want it, you prepare for it.
Mhm.
So when I was ready for a mate, I literally emptied out the side of my closet to prepare for his clothes. I emptied out the side my nightstand so
Mhm.
that he could have his nightstand. I emptied out you know what I'm saying? So you get my point. I
Mhm.
parked my car on the
Yes.
left side of the garage so that he could park his car on the right side of the garage. I laid up, if I was doing placemats that day, I put placemats for him.
Mhm.
I prepared for it for him.
Yeah,
Um
that's very important.
and the part that you really, the when I say if you really want it, because a lot of times we say we want something, but we
Mhm.
Say
don't
that.
haven't we really don't, we want it in theory. It's,
Yep.
Mhm.
and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you
And we're
something.
not ready.
Yeah, we want it in theory. It's like saying you want to get married, but you no, excuse me. Saying you want a wedding, but you really don't want a marriage. A lot of
Mm.
women want to be that belle of the ball that day, dressed in white, all eyes on her. She got this romantic, whatever. Women want that.
Mhm.
But do they really
Some women want that.
want a
Some.
marriage?
Some do. Some do,
Yeah.
because I sure as hell didn't.
Never wanted that.
Right. Yeah. Some don't. Right. My sister didn't either. So, but some do. But the point is, you think you want to be married. You want a wedding, or you want but do you really want the marriage, what it takes to be in a partnership with someone? You
Yeah.
know, a lot of times we don't. But so that's that part. But in terms of going back to religion, you know, I think about the Adam and Eve story, and I think about the fact how we started off this conversation about
Mhm.
how our moms are in, you know, going back in that generation,
Mhm.
how um you know, my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation, it was very big on the woman being so pure,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
her purity was defined by her being a virgin, right? That was a
Mhm.
big deal. So if she got pregnant, that was the whole, it was a horrific, you have shamed the family because you're having, now we know you're having sex because you're pregnant. But I think about the fact that God could really be a woman.
Mhm.
God could really be a woman. And I think you
Yep.
alluded to that earlier,
Mhm.
sis. Um, and I think about the fact that as women, we bear these babies, we carry these babies, we put our lives at risk.
Mhm.
We have to go into labor with these babies, and how powerful it is
Mhm.
for us to have a human attached to us.
Mm.
And then we come out and we nurse these babies. And that is the most um the best nutrients for those of us that are able to. Some of us could not, but for those of us that are able to, that's that the nourishment that we're giving to our babies for a year or two is so vital their um to their chi and to their longevity.
To their
Mhm.
immune system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Hmm.
because of their immune system. So
Hmm.
I think about, why are we the most oppressed in this
Mm.
society? Because if I have to do so much to oppress you, I know your power.
Mm.
So why in the church or in all the spiritual environments, in in all the spiritual environments, I got to rethink that. But no, yeah, in all the
Religious.
spiritual
Yeah.
in a lot of the religious environments,
Yeah.
women are,
Woman is silenced a lot in religion.
yeah,
A
and we
lot.
have to
Yeah.
be, we need to
Hmm.
be pure, and we need to be, so much pressure is put on us and not on our male counterparts.
Mhm.
I believe that it still goes back to the same thing. When we were, our goal was taken and we were left with religion, it
Mhm.
was break up the family, strip the woman of her power. Because if you strip the woman of her power, strip the men too, of
Mhm.
course, we know that, okay? But I'm just for the sake of discussing why purity is such a big deal. If
Yeah.
you're stripping the nurturer of the family of her power, what are you doing to the family?
Yeah.
What are you doing to, so I don't know, but I just feel that there is a connection between the fact that as women, it's expected of us to not embrace our sensuality.
Mhm.
Not to, that we are considered evil.
Mhm.
Sometimes we are considered, in certain religions, we are considered Jezebels,
Mhm.
whores, sluts.
Yeah.
Look at those horrible words,
Yep.
For
because we
for
embrace
having
our
a
bodies.
body
Hmm?
that is deemed sexual or sex appealing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You become demonized in church for that. I see it
Yeah.
happen all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's
If
just
you're
walking
built a
in.
certain
She's
way. Yeah.
walking in. Yeah, her butt's sticking out, and yeah, she's got big breasts, but I don't think that she's coming here. And some may be coming there to entice men. I've seen that happen too. But I
Mm.
think that a lot of times when that happens, it does something to women. It does something to where you know. I,
So for me, I'm a solution oriented person, right?
mhm,
So, brother Dawood, I've heard you say a couple of times that you are teaching classes, and I would love to hear more about that, because what I feel is, if your home is a sanctuary, and if
mhm,
the quote unquote sanctuary is not, like you ladies said, which is so true, that they should be teaching these things, teaching us about our, about our sensuality, teaching us about our bodies, and to learn about our bodies and how to love on our bodies, and then how to love on each other's bodies, because it's a natural, it's a natural, it's in the natural order of things.
Mhm.
If they're not doing it there, then I charge us and I challenge us to do it in our sanctuaries. You
Yeah,
know,
I
we
agree.
need to have sister circles and brother circles.
Mhm.
Sometimes combining the sisters and brothers too,
Yeah.
with the people in our families,
Mhm.
in our immediate circles as the quote unquote elders. We need to come together and bring these single moms together and just have conversation,
Yeah.
have conversation. So because they don't know, I didn't know what I didn't know,
Mhm.
so they don't know what they don't know. And
Right.
there's so much that they don't know, there's so
Mhm.
much that they have to learn on the job, and sometimes the learning on the job can be fatal. Sometimes the learning on the job can be life threatening.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Because you don't have to
Absolutely.
have it. You don't have to have sex to be taught correctly about it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's all of what we're all saying, even as mothers and fathers. We're all saying the same thing to the church: is be a little bit more honest, be a little bit
Mm.
more open, because these kids need that. You don't want them to grow up in church, and because I've seen that happen too. It's a lot of children, myself included, my sister as well, grow up in church, and I know everybody else has seen this. You grow up in church, and I might have made it to 18 without a child, but shoot, at 18 I started having sex, and there was a child that came out of it. So if I had known, because when I think back to 18-year-old Tasha, I wasn't thinking about pregnancy.
Right.
That was the last thing that was on my mind that could happen to me.
Right.
Because I'd always heard, close your legs till marriage, close your legs till marriage. Don't let a boy pet on you. Don't let a boy, play with your under your skirt. Wear your skirt a certain length above the
Yep.
knee and below to a certain, you know, all that stuff. You've been
Mhm.
taught that. So when I remember when I started to indulge in things that my body was desiring, which
Mhm.
was at that time, you know, older men.
Mhm.
Let's be real. I'm being transparent right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, at 15, 16, there was an attraction to older men.
Mhm.
And looking back on it, I could have, my mother and father knew about that. That man would have been in trouble.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I initiated some of that.
Mm.
Mhm.
I know I initiated it because I liked what I saw. I worked with this man. I wanted to be around him. He made me laugh. He was funny,
Mhm.
and I got all the perks because, he obviously was into me too.
Mhm.
But I knew what I was doing. I knew he was married. I knew he had a children at home. I didn't care nothing about that.
Mhm.
But did I know what I was doing? No.
Mhm.
All
You
I
were
knew is that
18.
mama telling me something I wasn't supposed to do made me want to know why.
Mhm.
Let me find out for myself how bad this is, you know, but didn't think one time that pregnancy was going to be a part of it. Never once crossed my mind.
Mhm. Can I ask you a question?
Hmm.
Do you think that if you had a relationship with your mom or your aunties, surrogate or not,
Hmm.
and you had that kind of relationship that your sister has with her son, if you
Hmm.
had someone that you could relate to on that level, like her son could relate to her,
Hmm.
do you think that you would have been comfortable to say, "Hey, I find myself attracted to this person," and
Hmm.
then do you think you would have been open to whatever guidance would have been given to you if again, you already have an established relationship with this mama or this auntie?
Hmm.
Do you think so?
I know that would have changed the course of my life.
Yeah.
That would have changed the course of my life if
I
someone
agree.
was being real to me about my emotions. What do I do
Yeah.
with that stuff?
Yeah.
I know you're telling me to close my legs. But what do I do about these urges?
These
What do I do
feelings.
about
And
how I
curiosity.
feel when
Exactly.
he walks
Yeah.
in the
Right.
room,
I'm
right?
very.
Yeah.
This little boy playing
Hmm.
around me and stuff. How you're not telling me how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
the
Right.
if there
problem.
was somebody
Yeah.
that was real with me like that, like I
Mhm.
plan to be with my grandbabies that are
Mhm.
all
Right.
girls, by the way,
Mhm. Mhm.
I have to be real like that because I remember and I
Mhm.
see that at that age, this is when those thoughts start to happen. So
Mhm.
I have to catch them before they get to a point where it's too late.
Mhm.
And it's sad
Mhm.
because shoot, I have to worry about the age that I have to have these conversations.
Mhm.
But they're gonna be
Mhm.
had.
Mhm. And let me say something too about the family structure. The two things.
Mhm.
Again, because I'm always solution oriented,
Mhm.
then we have to be aunties.
Yeah.
We have to be aunties to these young women, right?
Mhm.
So that anybody that we love and care about, for me, is any young woman that crosses my path that will listen. The reason why I
Yeah.
asked you if you would listen is because there are times that I've been in relationships with young women,
Mhm.
and there's usually the ones that's closest to me, and they don't want to necessarily listen, you know.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that I can't be an auntie to there
Right.
because there's gonna be, for everyone that does not don't want to listen, there might be one that wants to listen, that's
Mhm.
searching for that. Um
And you know what, Mari? Even with the ones that don't that
Hmm.
appear to not want to listen,
Hmm.
mhm,
it's in the approach. Somebody has come to them and made them feel bad about
uncomfortable.
talking about that.
Absolutely.
So when you
Absolutely.
come around and you're trying to be real and trying to get them to talk to you,
Yeah.
that fear is there. Like, okay,
Yeah,
she's
you're gonna
about to
go in the
preach to
same
me
category
again.
as all the other
Yeah,
ones.
Yeah. Because there's
so
no bond there. There's
right.
no bond. What is your name, sis? Your sister's
Mine,
name? What's your Yeah.
Tanika.
Nika.
Nika. See,
Mhm.
Hmm.
Nika built a bond, and that's something that I didn't do with my children. So that's why this
Mhm.
is so heavy on my heart. But Nika built a bond with her children.
Mhm.
Um, um, you build a bond with your children, and now you're building a bond with your grandchildren. When it comes to the family structure, I
Right.
remember one time my ex-husband said to me, "Our children need grandparents." And that
Mhm.
stuck out for me. Why? Because we were hustling as parents and we were trying to figure it out. We were working full-time jobs. There was artistry in the family. So, working full-time jobs, and there's dance classes, rehearsals, drum classes, etc. And so when he said that, it stuck out for me because what you said that you want to do, Latasha, is
Mhm.
exactly what we needed. Our kids, we needed grandparents to step in
Mhm.
and fill the void for us because there were things that we were clearly missing.
Mhm.
We couldn't even see it because we were hustling. We were trying to make sure these kids had food on the table. We
Mhm.
were making money, trying to make sure trying to work on our dreams while trying to parent, and
Mhm.
we were dysfunctional in other ways.
Right.
So, just in terms of how, not come, having upbringing that we needed, we had some brokenness in us that we needed fixing, and we're trying to
Right.
do all of that. So I think it's really beautiful when there can be a grandparent that
Mhm.
can look, you know, I can't do I now I still, my desire is to work on, to fix at least one of the relationships that I have that there's no bond. That one might be irreparable, I'm not sure. But at least with my grandson, there
Mhm.
is a bond that we have. We already have a bond. So
Okay.
as he gets older, it will
Mhm.
be easy for me to slide into that position of what you're about to do with your granddaughters.
Yeah.
And also he has grandfathers who are aware and
Mhm.
conscious. He has at least one that is very open, that he's close to. So from the male perspective, he has that. So, so I do think that the family dynamic plays a part. But if there are no grandparents, or they're not,
Mhm.
not interested, meaning the ones that are older than us,
Mhm.
for us, my charge is for us, if we're conscious on any level, it's my charge for us to, that each one teach one kind of thing, especially when they're younger.
Yeah.
and to be the aunties and to try to build the bonds, and the building the bonds can be as simple as, I want you guys to come over. Just, want you guys to come over and you just talk. And once you come over, you have some tea. I'm big on tea. Have some tea and, some victuals, and we just talk and kind of make it um a regular thing. And while you're talking, you can slide some information up in there. You can slide a book recommendation up in there, or whatever, or to even form a book club,
Right.
for these young moms, and you're talking about the book, but as you're talking about the book and the book can be relevant, you are offering some information,
Yeah.
because they need help. I
Mhm.
needed I needed so much help. The
Oh
only
my
thing that
God.
was good for me was that I was always looking.
Yeah.
I was always looking for it.
Mhm.
Searching, yeah,
Yeah, always
absolutely.
searching.
Yeah.
Brother
Mm.
Muhammad, is Brother Muhammad still there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything else to this? Because I know we're going
Nah,
into
no, ma'am,
different
not at
areas.
all.
Like I said, it's so much to unpack with this, but I think the overall thing, going away from this is, we now are charged with, as Mari said, we're charged now with, teaching the next generation, um, to be open the correct way, to not be afraid to come and sit down and have that conversation, because we're not in the world no more where secrets keep a family. Secrets tear families apart.
Amen.
Secrets tear
Well, one
relationships
thing I
apart. Secrets tear children away from their parents, because when your kids find out you're not perfect like you're trying to portray yourself to be, it could be devastating, because now you got to explain to them why, it's not good for them to do, but it's okay for you to do. And I never want that to even going forward, for my child to come to me and say, look, you did this, but you're getting on my case about it. You did that, but you're telling me not to go down that path. I never want that to be a situation again. So having four granddaughters,
well,
what
one
my
thing I can say
question now
is
is, what age is a good age to talk about these subjects with girls and boys?
one thing I can talk about. I'm a person that runs a male group once a week. Used to be twice, but now once a week because of COVID-19. And my group is the most successful domestic violence group on the East Coast. We have graduated over 50 people in a year, and that's more than anybody can say.
That's
And a
good.
Okay.
lot of it comes from the fact
Congrats.
that, as I always say, my my superpower is vulnerability.
Okay.
Once you use yourself as an example, it
Hmm.
opens up the floodgates for other people to talk. As long as you talk from a mountain, a
Hmm.
pulpit, or a pedestal, you will
Say
never
that.
reach nobody.
Oh
And
Amen.
God.
so
Wow.
what happens is
Yeah.
what happens is that whenever
It's
I do a group,
unfortunate.
I always throw out a personal whenever I do a group, I always throw out a personal example first, and that opens up the gates because I've always been a good storyteller.
Hmm.
And so I can tell a story about something I've gone through and draw so much emotion out that everybody's going to want to comment.
Okay.
And that gets the conversation going.
Hmm.
But you have to have multiple experiences in order to be able to do this
Right.
because you cannot just say you're going to run a group or do something like that and be successful at it. You have to have experience. Like for me, when I was a minister, I had experience doing youth ministry. I had experience running the brothers class. I was the captain, the lieutenant. So all these different experiences helped me to reach men because I've already conducted those kind of classes and I know how to strike certain chords. Because
Hmm.
to reach children is different than to reach grown people, and then to reach male children is different than to reach female children, and so on and so forth. But I
Right.
think that everything has to start with vulnerability, and
Hmm.
you got to use yourself as an example. And if
Hmm.
you're afraid to use yourself as an example when you're talking, then it's very hard to get other people speaking because everybody wants to see who's going to throw out first, who's going to jump out first. And
Mhm.
so for me, with my children, I know that my dad nor my mom really sat down, told me about sex, told me about how to treat women or anything like that. The one reason why I've never hit a woman and never thought about hitting a woman is because my dad brutally beat my mom when I was younger. I watched it and I decided I would never do that myself. But
Mm-hmm.
I could have gone either way. I could have
Yeah,
been the
yeah, I was
person,
just
I
thinking
could have
that you
watched
could
him
have,
do it.
yeah, you could have gone another way.
Yeah, I could have watched him do it, and I could have repeated the behavior, and I could have thought it was because it was okay for him to do, it should be okay for me to do. And so thank God I didn't go that way. Thank God it went the other way. But nevertheless, I guess when it comes to us talking to our children, the first thing is to talk to them real and be like, listen,
Yeah.
I went through this and I went through that
Amen.
at
I'm an
your
advocate
at
for
your
real.
age.
Mhm.
Amen. Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yes.
I have to
what I
bring up
do.
an example
What,
to when you get to that, when you get done. I just wanted to say that.
okay,
Go ahead.
I'll be very brief. So,
No, go ahead.
so what I've always done is I've always made my advice specific to their age. So, with my daughters, once they turn 16, I say, well, when I was 16, this is what I was trying to do, and this is what the dudes around me were trying to do to girls like you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And as they got older, then I gave them a little bit more, then I gave them a little bit more. But it was always specific to their age and their age group. I
Yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
that when you try to use like a very general top down approach to talking to children about sex, their bodies and things like that, you're always gonna fail because they're always looking for how does that affect me where I'm at right now?
Example. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
for me, that's why I've always had that. So when my daughters have either like, I wasn't really that successful with my oldest daughter. I will admit that because I was still, minister 10 toes down in the nation, and you're the minister's daughter, and that drove her away from me. And we're cool now, but it
Mhm.
drove her away from me. And I watched what happened. I watched, so much so that my oldest daughter had a boyfriend that was in jail when she was in high school. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Was
Wow.
sending this nigga packages in the whole 9 yards. I didn't know that.
Right. Wow.
So years later, when she was in college, she said, "Well, I'm 21 now, and you can't do nothing to me." I was like, "Baby girl, I ain't gonna do nothing anyway. What you trying to tell me?" So then she started telling me, and the more she told me, I was like, "Damn, you're telling me all that happened in high
Mm,
school, and I wasn't a part of it." And
mm,
I swore to myself that was not going to happen with my other three daughters.
Right.
And so
Good
whenever
for
I talk in
you.
my domestic violence class, one of the things I talk about is I talk about how I learned from that mistake because a lot of men, specifically men that come out of jail, they come
Mhm.
out of jail and then they want to make their daughters saints. You know what I'm saying? Oh, because I don't want you to go through what I did to other women and stuff like that. And that's the wrong way to go because you're trying to suffocate them just like religion would suffocate them. And you got to let them experience life and breathe and just be there to protect them from life threatening danger.
And try to guide, right?
Yeah,
amen.
I agree.
Amen.
But my question again, Tanika, before you start the age,
No, go ahead.
because I have a 2-year old, I have a 1-year old, and I have a 6-year old and a 9-year old. And my 6-year old granddaughter has already come across someone predatorial. A little 12, 14-year-old boy asked her on the playground to if he could see her panties.
Mm,
And a 6-year-old's
Right.
mind is not thinking he wants to see my panties because he wants to go. She's not thinking about that. She's thinking about, that's a challenge. Because the first thing he said was, I bet you don't have on no panties. This is what's
Mm,
going on. This is what's going on in that age. This is the kind of, invitations these kids are getting on playgrounds
Mm.
outside your home while the kids are playing around in the neighborhood. This is what your 4, 5, 6-year olds are dealing with because she don't know what's on his mind. She don't know what he's talking about. And what if she did? What if she pulled him down? So what
mm.
age do
Well,
you
I was
start talking?
well, I would say the beautiful thing is she came and told you about it
No,
Because
she didn't
I'll
tell
be
me
very honest
anything.
with you.
They
That
told
was
me
going on when.
after the fact. But her big sister was
What do you
there
mean
and
after the
stopped
fact?
it. Her big sister was there. The 9-year-old was there and stopped it. Heard what he
Right.
said, and she was getting
Right.
ready to show him, and she stopped it. But had she not been out
Right.
there,
Right.
yeah.
Because she's innocent, right? And she's like,
Mhm.
of course I have on panties. They're pink
Right.
or
That's all she
whatever,
was thinking about.
Yeah.
Wasn't nothing else. But the fact why I'm saying this is I want even the viewers to understand your children are being exposed and hearing things. And as innocent as it may be to them, someone older than them that is going through his puberty stage, that is trying to learn about his body, that might have, something that I don't know what he was dealing with. He shouldn't have asked her about her panties. But
Right.
we need
Right.
to
Right. Right.
understand what these kids are facing on a daily basis, not only in school, not only on the playgrounds, but in daycares. They're dealing with people that are playing with them like that and trying to get a reaction that can become predatory. So what age do you start teaching them about their body? Yes, no, don't do that, don't do this. This is what he meant. It's it's
Well, you
madness.
can start. You can start at 3, 4 years old. The
Mhm.
parts of your body that are covered are
Right.
not the parts that you should be showing to anybody, other
Hmm.
than mommy
Right.
gives you a bath or granny gives you a bath or whatever it is.
Right.
That kind of thing. Those people that are trustworthy.
Hmm.
But yeah, those parts of your body that are covered, that where you have on your underclothes or what have you, whatever wording works for that child. Because I mean,
Right.
I remember saying to my son when he was about 4, because that
Hmm.
was when he went into daycare. The parts of your body that are covered by your underwear,
Hmm.
those are not the parts that you are to show to anybody
Right. Yeah,
except mommy and daddy.
I
Yeah,
had to learn that lesson through trial and error with my son.
yeah.
Some little girl asked him, I guess no, it was a group of little girls in daycare,
Hmm.
asked
Okay.
him if they could see his penis. He
Right.
didn't think nothing sexual about it. He just thought it was a gift that, he thought it was really cool that they wanted to see it.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's
How
and it's
innocent innocence can be turned into, you know what I'm saying? It can be,
and
oh,
you don't want to make them feel like they're bad because they have these curiosities.
right.
Because I mean, that's a natural process too, where we are innately sexual.
Oh, and they dared him. That's
Okay.
what it was. They
Yeah.
dared
And we
him to
have
do it.
curiosities. Right. And we
He
have
couldn't go away
curiosities.
from a dare.
I mean, because I don't know. Did you all play house when you were kids?
I've
I know
seen
that
it
we did.
done.
I know
Yes,
we
Yeah,
did.
I didn't like
And
yeah, we
playing.
played house. Yeah,
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely
right.
played house. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
So,
and I think we need to pay attention. I think we need to be very careful when we call kids predators and making the wording that we use when we are referring to children, because at the end of the day, that 12-year-old is not a predator. I think we need to be very, very careful, because it can be dangerous, because you can say, oh, he was and I don't mean in any kind of disrespectful way, but
Hmm.
I think
I
about
agree.
our brother who
Hmm.
went through the same kind of judgment because he was curious. And
Hmm.
I don't know what was in that little 12-year-old's heart. We don't know what was in his heart. We don't know what he was thinking by asking this 6-year-old to we
why
can
was he on the
only
playground
infer.
anyway? I'm gonna leave
And
it.
we can only infer that that's what he was, but I think we just need to be very careful when we label children
Hmm.
as these
Predator.
demons and predators
Hmm.
and things like that, because it
I
can be
agree.
detrimental to them, because they grow
Hmm.
up and they've been, even though they've are only looking at it as a curiosity and trying to understand their bodies, we've now made it bad for them to be curious. I just think we need to be very careful about labeling children
Hmm.
as something like, you know what I mean, something
I get you.
bad like that. You know,
Mhm.
even though we look at it and we say, okay, yeah, that's predatory behavior because we are thinking in an adult mind. You
Mhm.
know, but saying that to a child, and I know you didn't say it to a child, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
putting that label on a kid who
Mhm.
is still trying to figure out life,
Himself. Yeah.
and we don't know what he's been exposed to or anything like that. I'm
Mhm.
just very, you know, cautious about
Yeah. Very sensitive
making,
about that.
you know,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, because you and I, me, Tasha, we know what our brother went through with the crap that, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and the labels that were placed on him as well, you know, and
Mhm.
how he's still dealing with that. That's the only thing that I'm thinking about. Just, you know, making sure that we use certain label when it comes to children. I mean, yeah, I mean, Hillary Clinton call all black men predators, you know, super predators and everything. So, you know, and now look at us. Now look at the crap that we're dealing with now, and you know, because we've demonized black men for, you know, and all kinds of reasons. I can go. This can get much deeper than that, but you know, I'm just, yeah, just wanted to throw that part out there.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a sensitive subject. Very sensitive.
Very, very, very
Mhm.
sensitive subject, and we, you know, kids are so exposed to so much. We were exposed to
Too
things,
soon.
but I mean, we now have all of this extra crap that our kids are exposed to, whether it's the
Mhm.
internet, and they have access to way more than, I mean, when we were younger, we, if we wanted to see somebody naked, we had to go and sneak to watch a porno, you know what I mean? Whereas all these kids got to do
HBO.
is just type in Pornhub and it's there, it's available. And now they're dealing with these emotions and feelings and they don't know what to do with it and these urges and everything. I mean, it, yeah,
That's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
It's definitely a lot.
Yeah. Mari?
I wanted to, Brother Daoud left the call. I hope he's still listening because I wanted to thank him for the work that he's doing. So I hope if you're
Mhm.
listening, Brother Daoud, thank you for what you're doing with these brothers because brothers need brothers. You
Yeah.
know, we need brothers.
Amen.
Mhm.
They need people to talk to and people to give them some guidance.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm always so thrilled when I hear that brothers are
Right.
in leadership positions.
Opening those
Um,
doors.
yeah, opening those
Mhm.
doors that have what I call come from a sense of groundedness, and I believe Brother Dawood comes from a sense of groundedness.
Mhm.
And also, I wanted to just touch on something before we close in
Okay.
terms of the saying that God could be a woman. You know, I call God infinite spirit, infinite intelligence,
Mhm.
and the reason why I say that God could be a woman is because I know that there's so many things that, first of all, God is an, I believe God is an energy, right?
Yeah, you are.
Right. God is in all things, right? And that's why I prefer
Male
to
and
use,
female.
yes, I
Amen.
prefer to use infinite intelligence, infinite spirit,
Mhm.
creator. Um, but the reason why I wanted to I attach female is because we always refer to God as a he.
Yeah.
All
You
the
know what I mean?
time.
We
That
always refer to
irritates me
God
a
as
lot.
he. And so I just wanted to, I don't,
Mhm.
without going into it too much, I just wanted to say
No,
that's the reason why
I'm glad
I
you
wanted
touched on that.
to
I'm very glad you touched on that because that energy, when they keep referring to God as a he, I'm like, oh, where do I fit in that? I'm a she. So where's the feminine principle in all of this? I think she's just as powerful, if not just
She's
as,
more
is-
powerful because
aren't
there's
they?
no he without a she.
right,
There's no he without a she. We are
right.
life givers. We give life.
Mother
Mhm,
Nature, there's more to that word than you think.
mhm, mhm,
It really is.
They call Africa the motherland,
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
all came from.
Right.
So yeah, so I just wanted to kind of just give some balance. So
Mm-hmm.
that, again, understanding that I believe that, it's God is it's an energy. It's in the God is the all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all encompassing of all energies. If we are
Yeah.
in the likeness of, then it is mother father energy.
Right.
So I just wanted to give balance to that.
And
Mhm.
Andrea,
Yeah.
I think you would answer. You could answer this. Isn't male? Am I? Aren't humans both male and female in one body?
Yeah.
Isn't it like the left side is
The
male and the
chromosomes.
right side is feminine?
You're saying, do we have both the X and the Y chromosome?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
And we all start out as, guess what? Feminine, female, all of us. Every single human being that was born starts out as a woman. Okay?
So check
There
that
it
A
out.
is.
female.
Wow.
Check that out.
Okay?
Check that out.
Or,
Yeah.
just
That's
saying.
amazing.
This is why
Yes.
we are
Amazing.
so, this is why we are copied the most. I mean, let's just talk about Black women in general and the power that we possess and everything. This is why we are copied. This is why we are stolen from the most, because we are the giver of life.
We're,
Mhm.
We put
and I
life.
think we're
We
feared
got the sauce. We
so
make
much.
everything better. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
we're
Lift
the
us up,
shit.
Nika.
Did you say we're feared?
I think we are.
This is
Yeah.
why we are feared.
Hmm.
This is
Absolutely.
why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we are feared. So again, if you oppress we are in society, right? We're paid the least.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're oppressed the most.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we oppressed? Why is it that we are deemed, going back to the topic, why is it that we as women and in our black churches, we are deemed as, we have to be controlled. The way
Yeah.
we dress has to be controlled. Everything,
Mm.
all power, because you want to quell. And this is
The power, the
right.
energy. Yeah.
But it started with our white settlers, our colonization,
Yep.
those colonizers. It started that. So my issue, and this is where the offense may come in, but how do you reconcile?
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile all of that with the fact that we're following this? There's a
Right.
group, and we're passing it down generation to generation,
Yeah.
and we're not empowering our children
Mm-hmm.
with the God inside of themselves. We're
Yeah.
not empowering our children to get up every morning, look in the mirror, and greet the God in themselves.
Amen. Oh my God. I love that, Mari. Love that.
Yeah. See,
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk
I
about,
put it in
yeah.
mine, so
Mhm.
they know
When we
what
talk
they know
about
that they are infinite.
Mm-hmm.
having
God bless you for
discussion with
doing that.
our younger sisters or nieces or, what have you, um, as Brother Donald was saying, I think we have to be authentic. We have to be real
Yeah.
about who we
Very.
are,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't come from a place of judgment where we're looking down on them and we're trying to
Mm-mm.
school them. We're
Mm-mm.
trying to keep them from, even we
Making the
even
same
have
mistakes
to
we
think
make.
of we even have to, right, we even have to change our mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Amen.
job
I
is
agree.
not our job is not to stop them from living, making errors,
Mhm,
making, because that's,
mhm,
to err is human, right?
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Yeah.
But you want them to maybe be able to manipulate life a little bit more easily
mhm,
than
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we did. And
mhm,
if
Right.
you explain that and express that in that way, I'm coming at you from a place of love and
Right.
mhm,
concern. This has
Okay.
nothing to do with me wanting to control the things that you are going to do. Because,
Mm-hmm.
my sister, I know that you are going to make your decision ultimately, no matter what I say, no
No
matter
matter
how much
what.
you may revere me,
Mm-hmm.
respect me, all of that. That does not mean that you are not going to make your choices based on what you feel you want to do.
Right.
Exactly.
Just know that
Exactly.
whatever those choices are, I am here.
Right.
mhm,
Whatever choices you make, whether it is what I'm, maybe trying to guide you toward
Mm-hmm.
or not, because you
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
can't make the fish in your fish tank swim in the direction that you want it to.
Yep.
Right. You
Okay, so
gotta
you
go
sure
where
in
it
the
goes.
hell cannot make another person do what you want them to do.
Right.
You might as well just get that
Exactly.
out of your head. Let that go.
Let it
Let that
go.
go. Let it go.
Yep. I
Let it go.
agree. I agree. I
Yeah.
Let
remember
it
when he was
go.
when he said, you can't scream from a mountaintop. That was so powerful for him to say that, because it's like we always come at our kids like, I'm telling you
Right.
this because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made. And it's like
Exactly.
all of like, no, don't do it, don't do it. You're trying to stop them from doing it. And this is what I was gonna bring up. When I remember when when my ex started growing. I'm just bringing up something completely. When he started growing weed, right? We actually sit down and had the conversations with both of my sons at the
Mhm.
same
Mm-hmm.
time, and he actually asked them like, "How do you feel about me doing this? Like, I just want to know, what do you feel?"
Mhm.
And because we wanted their opinion, we wanted their buy-in, of course, but at the same time, we wanted to let them know, like, look, this is how I feel about it. Yes, I don't want you going out and getting cocaine and all these other hard drugs, but this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to see how you feel about it. And they both were like, sure, Dad, go ahead, grow it. Like, it was
That's how
no
I
big
thought with
deal
my
to them.
dad. That's how I
You know
thought
what
with
I
my dad.
mean?
I was
Like,
like, grow it, child.
Mhm.
versus trying to hide it and pretend like it isn't. And then they go out and they smelling it and they like, wait a minute, my house smells like that. Like,
Like
you know what
our
I mean?
like our brother did to our dad. Our
Right,
dad tried to pretend like he was rolling up cigarettes
right.
and
And we
putting
used to
them in
think,
his work shirt. And my little brother
exactly.
found it one day and was smoking what he thought was a cigarette, and it was weed.
Hmm.
And that was the first
Exactly.
time my mom knew and found out that my dad was not smoking cigarettes, he was smoking marijuana
Yep, you got to
because
be
of my little
honest with your
brother.
children, man. You have to
You
be
have to be
honest, and you
honest. You
have to
have to come
you have
from a
to
place
That
let
of
was
them know,
funny.
hey,
authenticity.
I made these
Absolutely.
mistakes and this is what I did, and let
Yeah.
them come to their own
Mhm.
realization or their own, thought process of how to get through whatever that situation is. But if we're coming in a place of, I'm pure and I'm
Mm.
holy and I don't want, like, we can't come from that place. Like, no, I told my kids, I said, yeah, when y'all were little, me and your daddy used to sit in the bedroom with the dog sitting between us, and we would sit there with the window open. We would take a towel and put it so the smell wouldn't get under the door. We'd be
Right.
passing the joint back and forth. I said, yeah,
Oh
we
my
did all of that.
God.
He was like, well, where was Q-Tip? I'm like, Q-Tip was right there in the middle. My dog, he was right there in the middle, like sniffing all of it. But yeah, like when they first finally found out that that's what we were doing, they were just like, what? That was happening all this time? Yeah, it was happening all this time. We were trying to hide it from them. But once they got old enough to understand, we were just like, okay. He sit them down and he said, hey, I just want to see how you feel about me growing it. Now my son has a green thumb. He grows
Mm.
all kinds of plants, because his dad
Wow.
cultivated one plant, you know what I mean? And
Wow.
Mm.
started, and,
That's
and
pretty
we got
cool.
plants all over the
Yeah.
house and he knows this stuff like now, like the
That's
back of his
cool.
hand. But like just being
Out of the
honest
truth
and
came out of
open
the
is my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
out of the
letting them
truth
know up
came.
front, like, yo, this is what I do. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I want to see how you feel about it,
Yeah, out of the truth comes beautiful things for your children when you tell them the truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's really
Yeah. I
hard
love
to
it.
accept advice or even have a conversation with somebody who's not authentic.
Right.
Amen.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is
Yeah.
almost
Amen.
nearly impossible because you're looking at them like my
You don't get
bullshit
it.
meter is going off
You don't get
and
it.
I can't even hear you because it's
Mhm.
Yep.
ringing. My
And I
bullshit meter
pride
is like ding,
myself
ding,
on
ding, ding,
being
ding. I
authentic.
don't even hear
And
you.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
exactly. I
you
pride
know,
myself on being authentic at all times.
absolutely.
It's one thing people can say is, I'm going to keep it 100, real, all
Mhm.
the time. There's no sugarcoating and being, I'm not going to tell you something I feel like you want to hear. No, I'm going to be real about it. I'm going to be honest
Right.
and let you know. And then you make your own decisions on what you want to do with your life. And
Hmm.
at least you got the truth from me
Right.
versus some bullshit that somebody else is going to sell you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that. I love that. I love it. Gosh, you guys are brilliant.
Mhm.
I love it.
And that leads me to the next subject that we're having tomorrow, which is um Lilith. Do everyone understand who Lilith was in the Bible?
No, I have to read
No,
up
but
on
I
her.
will read up on it.
No, I'll have to read up on her.
You
Lilith
too.
was Lilith was Adam's first wife.
What? He had a first wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, see now I'm perplexed as heck, girl, because I thought it was Adam and Eve. I'm so sorry. I'm so confused.
No,
Where did Lilith come
and
from? How
there
did
is
she
a
come
reason.
Right,
into place?
There is a
right.
reason. There is a reason why
She was left
Eve
out.
was born. That Eve was created, and it was because that Lilith decided that she didn't want to serve Adam. She wanted to be
You mean
dominant.
sexually?
She wanted to be dominant. She wanted to dominate him. She wanted to sexually dominate him, and Adam didn't like that. So he asked God for a helpmate that would be from his, that came from
Rib.
him. She was created like he was created. She didn't come from his rib. So God took out Eve that would be subservient to him. And those are the two women that are running the world now. The woman
Hmm.
who wants to dominate, she's an alpha female. She knows her worth. She might be Amazonian, because there were Amazon women that started off, they were dominant, they were, and they loved their sexuality. They understood their sexuality. They used their sexuality to dominate and get what they wanted. That was Lilith.
Wow.
Lilith was the first wife of Adam.
Interesting.
Eve
Yeah, I
was
got to read up on her.
she was the humble one. Lilith did not want to be humble.
I think you got to have a little bit of both. I think in order to have strength, you have got to have humility. You can't
Hmm.
have, all of anything.
Yeah,
The black, white, that's ludicrous. You know, there has to
yeah.
be a sense of balance because I know that there's some
Amen.
Lilith in me. I know there's
Yeah,
some Lilith in me.
I
Okay.
Absolutely. Me
me
But
too.
I
too.
also know, but I
Hmm.
I got
also
a
know
lot of
that I
Lilith.
am, I do believe that my husband is the head of the home.
Yeah.
So in
Absolutely. I
terms
still
of
want a man to
that,
be a man.
Mhm.
absolutely. You think I want to be a who? I do not want a
Right. I
penis.
don't want to do the man's
I don't
role.
want
I
to be the
don't.
one who's in charge of
Mhm.
everything. I
Yeah.
don't want to have to be the one who has to pay all the bills. Let
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
me tell you something. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, my son and my husband had three weddings to do. They own this sound company. That's
Okay.
what they do on the side. That's their side
Cool.
gig.
Okay.
And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they have had gigs. They've had weddings. Today is their last one of this week.
Okay.
And they have been busting their hump. Guess what I've been doing? Facials, doing my nails, doing
Mhm.
my hands, taking care of my hands, like, moisturizing my hands, putting on my little white gloves, taking
Yeah.
care of the dog, cleaning the house, yes, but I'm not out there in that cold. It's cold out. I'm not a cold weather person. I
Right.
don't need to be out there. I'm not out there. They're literally on the pier right now, down on the pier at a
Right.
gig, freezing their little the cojones off. I'm not doing all of that. Mother
Right.
is sitting here waiting for the money to come home. That's
Hmm.
what I'm doing. Okay?
I
Yep.
love it.
Yeah.
I
That's what
love it.
mother's
Amen.
doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when they
Lilith,
come in,
when
they'll
you get
have
a
some
chance.
food.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? I was listening to, and this is something that you guys, maybe you all have already read it. I mean, listen to it. There is a post that Kevin Samuels did
No,
recently.
God. Kitten heels,
No, no, no,
please.
no. Check this out. Check this out. It's called "When Doves Cry." That's the topic and he's talking to this young lady in the topic. Now, I understood her more than what she realized, but Kevin was still wanting her to be Eve. Kevin wants all
Hmm?
women to be Eve. The
Kevin
way
wants
he
to be Eve.
comes,
Well,
he
moving on.
wants an Eve. He doesn't want a Lilith. And this
Kevin wants
girl
an
was
Adam.
a Lilith.
Sorry,
She was
whatever.
not an Eve. And he
Hmm.
was trying to get her to understand certain things, and she understood it, but she was trying to get him to say, I'm a rebel. I want to go out and get my own money. I don't want to wait for a man and his rules and this and that. She was saying that
Exactly.
strongly, and it was nice to see that at the end of the conversation, he accepted that, he accepted her for, what she was trying to say to him. You can't make
Good.
someone be an Eve, fellas. All of us are not Eve.
Exactly.
We're not
Please
all
stop.
Eve. We got Eve traits,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Exactly.
I mean,
the
I started
breakdown
at
of the
And there's
home.
home,
nothing
Eve,
wrong with
Eve
us
went
if
out
we
the
don't
door
want to
with
be
the
an
breakdown
Eve.
of the home.
Let's be clear.
Yeah,
Yep.
So that's my next subject tomorrow. I hope you guys tune in.
right.
And I want,
Absolutely.
I want to break down who Lilith was, because she was she was every sense of the word of an alpha female.
Well,
And
you
that's
just
the
educated me.
girl that most black men don't like now.
Mm, you just
Hmm.
educated me. Thank you for that.
Hmm.
Ladies, it's been a pleasure.
You too.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. I
Beautiful
love these talks.
conversation. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Muhammad, if you're still listening, for coming on. Thank you,
Yes.
Tamika, my sister, my
Thank
twin
you,
flame.
guys.
Aw,
Andrea, thank you so
have a
much. And
great night.
definitely Mari, thank you so much for coming on. You guys add so much richness with your voices and your perspective
Absolutely.
to these
I agree.
conversations. So I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for the topic.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, ladies. You
Yes.
guys
You
have
have
a
a
good
great one.
evening.
Take good
Enjoy the
care.
night.
What time
All
tomorrow?
right.
Is it the same time
Same
tomorrow?
time tomorrow, 7:30.
7:30. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
All
and
right.
look up Lilith before you come on so you'll know who
I
I'm
will.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Peace and
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll
Take
Good
blessings.
good
be putting in
night.
care.
work.
Good
Bye, guys.
night. Bye
Bye.
bye.
And we're done, family. Bye-bye.